Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/The Rob Burgess Show. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I am, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 15th episode, our guest is Rick Friday. But before we get to that, I need to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, Audible.com. For you, the listeners of the Rob Burgess Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. A book I would personally recommend that pertains to this episode is The First Amendment and You, What Everyone Should Know. This is a 9-hour audiobook in the Great Courses series narrated by Professor John E. Finn, and it can be yours today for free. Whatever book you pick, you can exchange it at any time. You can cancel at any time, and the books are yours to keep. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/The Rob Burgess Show. Again, that's audibletrial.com/The Rob Burgess Show for your free audiobook. Please consider supporting those who support the show like Audible. You'll be helping me out, and it won't cost you a thing. Another totally free way you can help the show is to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available. Whether it's iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Facebook, Twitter, TuneIn, or RSS, you can find links to everything on the official website, www.therobburgessshow.com. You can also find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. Now on to today's show. Here is how Rick Friday describes himself on his website, fridaycartoons.com. I grew up on a 300-acre farm in southern Iowa during a period in which our nation was at war. Times may have been difficult, but Sis and I didn't know it. The country life seemed to protect us from the world. We didn't want for much and created our own entertainment. Soda pop was our reward for being good kids, so once in a while, Sis and I would slide the pitcher of sweet tea aside and share a bottle of pop. My mother says I began drawing cartoon characters on my toy box at age 4. A few years later, I started drawing cartoons and selling them to kids on the school bus for nickels and dimes. When our farm chores were done, Sis and I would walk 2 miles to town and spend the cartoon money on orange pop and Chico sticks. I had enough cartoon money for Sis and I to each have our own bottle of pop. I was an average student, however, and there were times I was scolded for doodling on my homework. He needs to focus more, my teachers would say. I was voted class clown by my peers, and I turned down an art scholarship in 1978. I thought I would work and eventually farm. Under my picture it read, "What are your future plans?" My answer was, "Undecided." I was successful with my plans. I am still undecided. My first cartoon was published in a local paper in 1993. I traded 1 cartoon per week for a subscription to the paper. Soon I was drawing for 3 papers and 1 magazine. The mailbox was always full of newspapers. In 1995, Farm News out of Fort Dodge, Iowa, contacted me and offered me a position as their editorial cartoonist. They were delighted to find a farmer who could draw cartoons. 21 years later, the publication cut me loose for offending Big AG Business, and once again I am drawing on toy boxes. I am optimistic and hope that someday I will be remembered as author unknown. You can view the cartoon that caused the stir on Rick's Facebook page, www.facebook.com/rick.friday.3. You can also follow him on Twitter at www.twitter.com/Friday_Rick. Finally, I'd like to extend an open invitation to Farm News and the seed dealer who was offended by Rick's cartoon. You're welcome to come on the podcast and give your sides of the story anytime. And now, on to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Rick, it's Rob.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Say, my wife got the smooching on me this weekend, and I got her cold, so I might go into a coughing fit that'll irritate both of us. So with me.
Well, luckily I do edit, so I'll make sure if we go into that, I'll try and cut it out. But
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's okay. I might sound like I weigh about 350 pounds, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, good to know. If you want to just go ahead and start, just tell people a little bit about yourself, whatever you want people to know.
Well, the story that I've been telling, Rob, is one that my mother reminded me of when this first all happened. She said, you started drawing on your toy box when you were 4 years old. And I do remember when I started riding the school bus that I'd draw cartoons and sell them to the kids on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning the kids would hand me nickels and dimes, and I'd put that change in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the chores were done Saturday afternoon, my little sister and I'd walk down, and we were only allowed to have a bottle of pop when we were good kids, which wasn't very often. So we were allowed to walk to town, and gosh, back in the 60s, there was a lot of dirt roads, so Sis and I'd walk down, and we'd buy Orange Crush and Chickle Stick. So, and I've always drawn. Got in a little trouble in school because I'd drawn things, but in 1993, I put together a portfolio, and I sent that out to a few local papers, and one paper, the Creston News Advertiser, which is about 30 minutes away from the farm.
Mm-hmm.
They liked the cartoons. In fact, the editor came to my place of work and said, we can't really afford to pay you for your cartoons, but we'll trade you subscription to the paper. You give us a weekly cartoon. So I did that for a while, and then I approached a few other papers with that as well. And soon I was drawing for 3 or 4 papers, and I even drew some cartoons for the Wallace Farmer, and all for publication or for subscription to the
Mm-hmm.
paper. And then in 1995, Farm News started their paper, and the editor at that time had the story that he had told me at the time is he had contacted Wallace Farmer and wanted to know if they knew of it.
Mm-hmm.
A cartoonist that was affiliated with agriculture, and of course they sent him my way, and
Mm-hmm.
I started drawing full-time in 1995 for Farm News, and drew with them for 21 years until I got the email one Saturday morning notifying me that they no longer wanted any of my cartoons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's of course how I found out kind of about your story here. I think it's interesting that you're kind of self-taught in that way. It sounds like you kind of just started, making things when you were a kid and went from there. Were there particular cartoonists that you liked or people that you kind of looked up to as you were kind of learning your craft there?
Yeah, at least, the first thing I'd always, when I get the paper, any paper, the first thing I do is look for the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if everyone does that, I just self-taught is right. In fact, I did have my art teacher, my senior year of high school, work hard to get me a scholarship. He saw the potential in my work. But I'm a fifth generation farmer, and I can't explain it, but there's just something that pulls at you continuously. And so I always thought, well, I'll just farm like my dad and my grandpa and my great-grandpa, etc. So I really wasn't interested in furthering any education at all. When you're a senior, that's tough. You know, it's like, oh, man, I just spent my whole life in school, and why do I want to go back to school? But,
sure.
You know, that was in the 70s, Rob. Things have changed quite a little bit. So I turned that scholarship down, and I went to work for the local elevator. I started working for them when I was 14 or 15, and I just continued on. And then the crisis, the 80s farm crisis hit in the 80s. My father said, there's not room for two of us, and I've been here longer. So I went to work for a corporation, an RV corporation, and worked there for 22 years, and drew cartoons since 95.
Right. Now, what kind of farming was your family concentrated on mostly?
Mostly cattle.
Mostly cattle. Okay.
We did raise hogs back in the day before they all went corporate farms, and they kind of and that's another reason why, you know, the market hog. We raised hogs, and it all went to corporate farming, pretty much with the hogs. So it kind of crowded me out. We went out of the business of raising hogs and focused more on cattle.
Right. Now, for people that don't, aren't as familiar maybe as you are with the farming culture, kind of explain the influence on kind of big, because that definitely plays a part in this story, like factory farming and big agriculture, and you kind of alluded to the squeeze that, small farms have felt, especially from the 80s on up. What is that effect that you've seen?
Well, I look around. I'm a fourth generation on this family farm, on this country farm. And I look around at the neighbors, and there's no one to follow them. It ends. In this neighborhood, there's one young man that's farming with his father, and no one else has anyone to follow. So we're probably looking at a huge land grab. And the corporate farms have squeezed the small farmers so hard that they've controlled the markets and the input cost. And it's the passion for the business that's keeping the last stronghold, I might say, of farmers in the business. And cattle is kind of it's because it takes so much land to raise cattle. Corporations haven't quite got a handle on that, but we're starting to see it in our area, a lot of land grabbing, which they're buying a lot of property. Right. And they're raising that. Right now, and we're getting back to when I went to college, or had a chance to go to college. Right now, it's cheaper for a young person. It's cheaper for them to go to college than to start farming. Right. One tractor on today's market would get you 4 years of college education. Wow. Yeah, I think that's important because, the more disconnected we are from how our food is produced, I feel like the more centralized it gets, and I just don't think that's good for anybody, except the factory farms or whatever. So our youngest daughter, Rob, recently graduated from law school, and she's currently now practicing. And her student loans, she worked really, really hard to put herself through college, just like I did in what I'm doing in agriculture. And there's no one who wants to start farming right now cannot get started for what it cost her to get a degree in law. Right. And what's going to happen is I'm afraid that we're going to produce corn like we produce cars. There's going to be three companies producing our food, or less.
Right.
And I don't know if we're ready for that.
Yeah. No, exactly. Now to kind of switch to a little bit about the publication where you had been working for, the Farm News, was your relationship with them pretty good before this had happened? Did you ever have any problems similar to this, as far as editorial, oversight kind of clashing with what you were trying to do?
Actually, it's excellent. In fact, the editor is a really dear friend of mine, and he is totally confused of why this happened. Of course, he's the first one to see my work, and of course, he approved it. It went to print, was distributed to 24,000 households, and there was one complaint from a huge seed dealer about the contents of the cartoon, and I wouldn't say it was fired. Relieved of duty as a freelance cartoonist, so it's just actually the editor was shocked that this happened. But there have been maybe one or two cartoons in the 21 years that they wouldn't print, that was edited for. Most of the time, Rob, it was something I spelled wrong.
Right.
And I'd have to go back and change. I just changed the cartoon.
Sure.
This last year, there's been a lot of questions about my cartoons, and it's not that they're any different than they were 10 years ago. It's times have changed. Advertisers, large advertisers, are very influential on the press, because that's where a lot of the revenue comes from.
Sure. Well, but in theory, though, I mean, this is the way it's supposed to work. Obviously, it doesn't always work this way, but I think in theory there is supposed to be a wall of separation between, the editorial side and the advertising side, so that one doesn't influence the other. But obviously, that, as we see, that doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. So.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Yeah. But your cartoon was interesting because, I'm looking at it right now, the one that kind of caused the uproar here or whatever. It's not anything inflammatory to my eye. I'm obviously not a big ag person, and maybe they would see it differently. But it's really just it looks like two farmers talking at a fence. One says, "I wish there was more profit in farming." The other one says, "There is. In year 2015, the CEOs of Monsanto, DuPont Pioneer, and John Deere combined made more money than 2,129 Iowa farmers." Now that looks like just a plain statement of fact to me. It doesn't look like you're, what I mean? Like that's a pretty opinionless, I mean, you are putting an opinion forward, of course, by showing these facts, but you really are just stating the truth, right? I mean, that seems to be what you're doing. So
yeah, actually, I saw the agribusiness report, which is it comes out in Iowa. And that report actually stated what the average Iowa farmer made in 2015. They also used other comparisons. They used the comparisons for the year before and 2 years prior. I don't have those figures exactly, but I saw that and I looked it up. I mean, there's no excuse for ignorance in today's world when you can Google anything you want.
Right.
That's basically what I did. I sat down there and I Googled the agribusiness report, and I saw what the average farmer made in 2015. And I just randomly took Monsanto, DuPont Pioneer, and John Deere. And the reason why I use those three is because they're high-profile agribusiness corporations, and I typed in CEO, and I got their total CEO compensation package for each company. And that's all public information. Anyone can do that. And I basically just added those three salaries and divided what the average farmer made in Iowa in 2015 and come up with 2,129.
Right.
And you can put a pencil. In fact, the Des Moines Register, they did a little further study on it and come up with a different figure than what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think theirs was, I don't know if you want to quote me on this, but I think it was 2,888.
Wow.
They actually come out with more farmers.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. But now you said this was a seed company that complained. What particular part of their business would it be Monsanto maybe that would be the connection there? I'm trying to figure out what umbrage they would be taking.
Well, all I know is from the email that I had received, Rob.
Uh-huh.
It says that in the eyes of some, Big Ag cannot be criticized or poked fun at. The cartoon resulted in one seed dealer canceling his advertising with Farm News. That was in the email that I got. I don't know. I do have some friends, 21 years. I'd like to think you'd make some friends with somebody. They have told me who the seed dealer is, but I've chosen to keep that to myself right now because I'm not going to play the same game they are, because that seed company, there would be repercussions from it. I don't know if repercussions is the proper word, but there would be there's people that work for that company. You know,
right? So
and it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
Any one of the three or any corporation at all they feel that they have every right to pull their ad. I'm not saying that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's kind of what you do with that from there, I guess, would be the question, you know. So.
But I would hate to think that they were so embarrassed with their CEO salary that they would have to pull all their advertising. Advertising is in place to make you money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't understand. And we have smartphones and computers, and we're very highly intelligent individuals on the farm. We know what CEOs make with these companies.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right. It's not like a secret, like you said. You can. There's no excuse for ignorance when you can Google everything. So it's public information at this point. So, wow. So you said you know who the seed dealer is, but you're not choosing to share it now. Have you talked to anybody at the seed dealer or had any communications with them, privately, and being like, what the heck,
No, I have not.
No. Okay. Huh. And did they reinstate their advertising with the Farm News after you were let go, or did they just cancel and that was the end of it? Do you know?
I don't know, Rob. I don't know about the seed dealer. I do know that their ad department was hit extremely hard.
Ooh. So this was a pretty big advertiser that they lost from this.
Well, yeah, but the revenue that they lost from the fallout from this is a lot worse than that one seed dealer.
Oh, really?
Other companies have pulled their ads. Yeah, it's.
Oh, so so they were the ones that initially complained, but there were other kind of ripple effects beyond that.
Not due to the cartoon, due to the release of the cartoonist in the story.
Okay.
It's just, most people understand the unfairness in that.
Sure.
Justice is when arrogance stomps over everything great that defines our country and then drowns in a puddle of disgrace.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. If you had to do it over again, would you have done the same cartoon again, or would you have done something different?
I would have taken a little bit more time to draw it. I didn't realize it was going to go throughout the world.
Like put a little more detail in the drawing part.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that morning is I raise cattle and I have actual baby monitors in my barn. Mm-hmm. And so when new mothers are in there, I have cameras on them, so I watch them just like you do your babies upstairs or in the other room. So I was sitting there watching the monitors, and I had a young mother that was giving birth. So I was drawing the cartoon and watching her.
Oh, wow.
And when the baby was born, I just ran outside to make sure everything was all right. Come back, finish the cartoon, washed up, and did the rest of my chores. Come back, added a little bit more, scanned it, sent it to my editor, and didn't think anything of it. Like I have every Monday morning for 21 years.
Right.
And then Saturday morning, I come in and I flipped up my laptop, saw an email from the editor, and this message is, well, believe it or not, Farm News, 20-plus years relationship with you is over. And I sent a reply, basically, shame on you.
Yeah.
Closed my laptop, went to go outside, and I texted my wife and told her what had happened. Come back and thought, I'm going to tell my 325 Facebook friends about this.
Mm-hmm.
And it went viral.
Yeah.
There's 24,000 people that read the paper every day.
Right.
How would you, I don't know, as you look at that cartoon, would you see that as offending any of the three?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying with that. Yeah, it is it's so innocuous and so just factual. It's hard to see who that would have said.
You used the exact word that the editor used.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't quite understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it would be kind of hard to anticipate that kind of thing. You're right. So, but, So, what's been the response from people that have found out about this and kind of contacted you? I'm sure you've gotten a whole new, audience for your work. I've been enjoying your cartoons on Facebook. I've started following you obviously after this. So,
oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, it's been fun seeing your work. And now I've been looking at your cartoons, and are any of the characters? Are you drawing yourself? Do you insert yourself into the cartoons, like a caricature of yourself? Okay. Yeah. That's kind of what I thought. Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of have a special kind of self-awareness to draw yourself, I'm sure. So.
Oh yeah, I'm my worst critic.
Right.
Yeah, as far as response, it's unbelievable, Rob. In fact, I'm not real sharp when it comes to electronics. That's why I have 5 kids to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I recently went to Kentucky, and we couldn't get any Wi-Fi. So using my smartphone, I tried to retrieve all my messages. Mm-hmm. Well, what I did was I found almost 1,200 filtered messages that had come through Facebook that I wasn't aware of.
Right.
From Australia, Hong Kong, Japan, Argentina, Ukraine, Canada. The list goes on and on. It's Russia. Mm-hmm. There was, in fact, I took on, in the art world you call them gigs. Mm-hmm. I took on 4 gigs yesterday. Oh, wow. Plus, this is how you and I made the contact.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely.
And if I would have never known those were there.
Right.
And I'm currently maintaining about 5,000 followers on Facebook. Uh-huh. My friend list went from like 325 to, it grew by 1,000. I've got my own website.
Wow.
FridayCartoonist.com. We're just kind of getting that started.
Cool.
The kids on Mother's Day got me on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So it's really, really the oddest story, and this is so comical, is they did a piece at New York Times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read that.
And I was touring that morning, and my father always taught me that your stock always is taken care of before anything else. Mm-hmm. Before you eat, before you do anything, you take care of your animal. Mm-hmm. And so when they called, I didn't want to do the interview because I still had chores to do, but I did the chores and called back, did the interview, and then I had a cow that had a newborn, and the calf had not quite got up and nursed yet, so I was helping the calf. And I usually take a little bottle with me to get the calf started.
Right.
I was feeding this calf, and CBS called, wanting details on the story so they could run it in the sister station. So I'm talking to CBS and bottle feeding the calf at the same time, and I'm thinking, this is so weird.
But see, this is how I know you're a real farmer right now, because even though the national media is on the phone, the cattle have to be tended to. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. This is what I know. This is what I do. And so it's really kind of comical, and I've been putting that into my work. But yeah, there's been a lot of opportunities, a lot of them that have fell short too. Mm-hmm. There have been a lot of promises made that not followed. That it's we, the people, are like a box of kittens. We see what's moving at the time, and you give us the weekend and a little recreation, and all is forgotten. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was really, really, going the first week, it was like crazy. I'd lost about 10 pounds because I had a phone to my mouth instead of a fork. And it's just crazy. Yeah. And it's starting to get crazy again as I found those 1,200 messages.
Exactly. You just found the secret cache.
Yeah, the secret cache is perfectly good.
But, well, I think the quickest way to tell me, like, the quickest way to get me to want something is to tell me I can't have it. So it's like if I hear that somebody's been, taken away for something, it's like, oh, well, what was that? Like,
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, well, I got to know more about this. So,
well, it's kind of a perfect storm because with everything that's going on with the election year, and everybody's divided this way and this way here, and then you throw in. And the thing about it is I'm a farmer and a cartoonist. Mm-hmm. And farm news really kind of had it made because, I wouldn't cater to the big corporations. I was catering to people like myself.
Right.
And so you got large corporations trying to shut up the small guy, and I consider I've always been a small guy. Mm-hmm. So automatically the free press and free speech are motivation for jumping on this. People are really concerned about their constitutional rights. Mm-hmm. Some have argued with me saying it's not. Your rights weren't violated. Mm-hmm. But I tend to disagree because if it was censored prior to publication, I would see that wasn't any violation of free speech or free press. Mm-hmm. But when it went to publication and 24,000 people read it, and then they censored me, then I do see that as a violation.
Right. Well, I guess where people might be mixing it up is that, the text of the First Amendment talks about the government stopping your speech, but really what we're talking about here is not the government stopping your speech. Right. It's really just business, interests and pressures like that. So it's a little more insidious in certain ways because it is not something that is so blatantly, in violation of the First Amendment. So they can, you weren't violated, but yeah, kind of you were. So.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. It's not. It's how you want to look into it.
Right. But it is still censorship. You're right. I mean, it's still being because now your voice is not being heard in that space anymore because of this. Obviously you have other opportunities because of it, but that's kind of a more side effect than So. Well, I'm happy that you're getting other opportunities. I was worried that this was going to be the end of your cartooning career. I wasn't, I wasn't sure that it was going to pan out, but it sounds like you're getting other opportunities and stuff. Your website's going up. You said you're getting that going.
Yeah, I started and we're starting to get that up. A friend of mine, Jeff Norman, we've been friends since 7th grade, and Jeff's a wonderful guy. He can play a cigar box banjo like nobody's business.
Cool.
And harmonica. Jeff and I, we run around ever since we were kids. He'd play music and I'd draw cartoons. So we're putting together a little something.
Cool.
And we're going to have a little fun with it. Yeah, you've got to have fun, Rob. I don't care. You know, I'm not drawn for farm news anymore. But I'm drawn, as one follower wrote on my Facebook page, Friday Unplugged, and I have run with that because for 21 years I've drawn agriculture-related cartoons, and now I can draw some other stuff, you know.
So really this has like freed you up a little bit as far as subject matter.
It does.
Huh.
And I don't have to worry about somebody censoring me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you know, out there drawing for other magazines, and I try to stay with their theme. You know, old farmer carrying a 5-gallon bucket wouldn't look real good in the duck hunting magazine. But you know, I've got to change things up a little bit, which is I've been used to being plugged into agriculture, and it doesn't really define who I am.
Right.
It might define what I do, but not who I am.
Right.
It's been really interesting. It's been a little scary, I suppose. Not used to this type of opportunity.
Right, exactly. And it's not like you went into this being like, gee, I hope I get fired so that I will become a worldwide news story.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd been shooting for this, I don't think you could have hit it. You know what I mean?
No, like I told my wife, I said, I've been doing this for 21 years. I'm going to get myself fired, so things will take off.
Exactly. I'm going to really screw things up, and then you'll see. That's funny. But it's been life-changing for me. I know that. Well, I'm happy to hear that. That's great. So we always talk about music on my show. You alluded a little bit to some cigar box banjo. What kind of music do you listen to generally here?
What kind of music do I listen to?
Yeah.
Anything in the 70s. Anything in the 70s. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, the stuff the kids listen to doesn't make any sense to me.
It's all just white noise.
And I'm not making fun of our youth because they're going to have to take care of me someday.
Got to keep in their good graces for now. So.
But when you go to weddings, I go to these weddings, they look like indigenous people out there hopping around. The music, and it's like, wow, you know. And I'm sure, I mean, I grew up during the disco days.
Sure.
I mean, that had to be really weird to our parents.
Yeah.
It's just a cultural thing. But
sure.
70s, I don't listen to much music because my mind's turning all the time. You know, I'm a smart ass with a pencil. So I'm thinking all the time. And I lose a lot of wonderful ideas that come to me. So my wife's got me a little tablet I'm carrying around, and she always makes sure I have that in my pocket. And I talk into my phone, and sometimes I'll get up in the night, and I'll think, I've got this funniest cartoon, and I'll kind of sketch it out roughly and put a caption down there, and then I'll get up 4 hours later, and I'll go, what the hell is that?
Doesn't make any sense later on.
Yeah, what did I do?
Exactly. But at the time, you're like, oh, this is brilliant.
Oh, man, this is hilarious.
Exactly. That's funny. Well, I was talking to one of my friends last time on one of my podcasts, and I feel like whatever you like when you're 12 years old, music-wise, I feel like that's going to be what you think is best, because I definitely have the same experience, you know, like I'm quickly turning into the old man, get off my lawn with the music. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny how quick that happens. So.
Where I'm at, what I'm doing, that American Pie song comes on, man, I'm just got me.
Right.
You know, it's just, and now I was probably 10, 12 years old when that came out.
Yeah, you know? Exactly. Well, that's when you're first discovering music, though. So it's like when you first get into it, it's like, yes. So I definitely know about that. But
my father was a military man, and growing up in the 70s, everybody had long hair. And I was like the only kid that could have halfway down my ears. That's what we'd agreed on. No further than that.
That was the compromise? Okay.
Yeah, come on, Dad. And then all the guys have long hair. And he says, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, I'll race you up to the railroad tracks, which is about a quarter mile from my house. He said, I'll race you up there and back. Now, you're going to get a haircut, boy. He said, if I win, I'm shaving her off.
Uh-oh.
If you win, you get it halfway down your ears. Now, that tells you how smart teenagers are.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, I'll race you, Dad.
Right.
I'm still getting the same haircut I would have if I just shut up and sat down.
Yeah, but he made you think it was your choice to do. That's the trick.
Yep. And knowing my dad, he let me win, but he could run like a rabbit. And a car come over the hill, and he stopped, and I took off. I said, why'd you stop, old man? He said, because I didn't want that person in that car to think I was trying to run you down and beat you.
Exactly.
and as he's cutting my hair, I'm thinking, well, what an idiot. This is what I was just going to happen anyway.
Wow. I'll have to. My son is almost 2, so I'll have to remember these little tricks for later on. So.
You call me anytime. I've got a lot of tricks.
Exactly. Putting the carrot out in front of him or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, excellent. Well, is there anything else you wanted to get out there before we finish up? I appreciate you taking all this time to talk to me. It's been fun, and I only wish you more success. And I've really been following your work, and I hope to continue to see you have more success here. So,
well, I appreciate you reaching out to me. That in this business, mm-hmm. and probably in your business, mm-hmm. I have a little quote. And, I've been an artist and a writer most of my life.
Uh-huh.
And I've come to the conclusion, and probably in your job too, that the only person who can make people happy is the one who drives the ice cream truck. So you remember that you're not going to make everybody happy, and that is actually the formula for failure, is trying to make everyone happy. And,
that's right.
And
that's a good point.
I do not have very thick skin. My feelings get hurt very easily. Mm-hmm. But when this thing hit, read it, it went, it was a top story on Reddit, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My daughter told me, oh, my God, you made Reddit. I don't know what that is.
You're like, now, so slow down. Explain to me what Reddit is before you go any further.
What is it? Sent me a link, and I clicked on it, and I was offended by some of the things that people wrote.
Well, of course, it is the internet, so.
Yeah. I was like, man, why is his hand like that? Or some kind of farmer hand signal or something. It's like, well, no, my ruler slipped. The wire's supposed to be here, and like, if I'd have known that this many people were going to be looking at this, and, I would have taken a little bit more time with it. But,
sure.
But it didn't really offend me. It's that, I've thrown a lot of cartoons in the trash, and I've had people go over later and get them out and put them in their pocket. I go to schools and draw, and if I make a little error, I'll throw it away. You'd be surprised how many people will pick that up.
Interesting.
I forget sometimes that not everybody's got that ability to draw. And not everybody's got the ability to write. I do both. I draw and I write. Mm-hmm. But I can't sing. I can't have babies.
That's true.
We all have these things that we can do. We're all special in one way or another, and we have to grab a hold of that and run with that. Yeah. And don't let anybody stop us.
Yeah.
My wife is like the champion organizer. She puts an X on the calendar every night when she gets home. I'm saying, honey, what do you want to make sure everybody knows you participated in the day? And she's like, no, this is how she keeps organized.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I have to have her around me, or I'm a pile of papers. Mm-hmm. So, we all have we're all good at something. Mm-hmm. So, I guess I better shut up.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me, man. I really appreciate it. And, yeah, keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll be following your work for sure. So.
Well, thank you, Rob. And I'll pay attention to your show a little bit more.
Cool. Yeah, thanks a lot.
So where are you located at?
I live in Noblesville, Indiana, and it's kind of a little bit north of Indianapolis. I work in Kokomo, Indiana, so it's definitely a farming area, mostly soybeans and corn in this area. There's also some tomato and some other things. There's a red gold factory not too far. I think there's some pigs not too far away from us too. So definitely pretty agrarian here as well. So.
Well, I must have drove right by your place. We went down through Peoria, down through it, and then we caught this. It's kind of funny. In 25 or 26 minutes, we went from, how was that? Indiana to Ohio to Indiana and to Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
We hit like 4 states in 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So we went through Indiana just last week.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Well,
I worked for Winnebago Industries for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
I made a trip to Elkhart, Indiana.
I was going to say, that's the center of it all right there for the industry. So.
Mm-hmm. So I've been there before, but so you have a 2-year-old.
I do. Well, he's going to be 2 next month. He and my wife share a birthday, actually. So it's going to July's going to be a pretty expensive month in my household.
Yes. We have 10. We have 10 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And we've got like 5 of them all around that age.
Uh-huh.
I call them the sippy cup gang. Because we have sippy cups lined up on the table when they come on example. You know. And so, they're so much fun, and they are your reward for surviving parenthood.
See, this is my theory. The more since I've had a child, I'm starting to see that the real racket is to be the grandparent. This is where it really kicks in. You know what I mean?
Oh, buddy, yeah. But I have to remind all my children that the most important thing about being an adult is remembering what it's like to be a child.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, for sure.
And when I was a parent, I forgot quite a little bit about what it was like to be a kid. Mm. And when you start remembering that, that's when you start outsmarting them, Rob, and that's when you start thinking one step ahead of them because you were at that age.
Right. So you got to put yourself in that mindset.
Yeah. So I'll ask you: is your 2-year-old a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Oh, they're a little easier to raise.
You think so?
Well, yeah, because when she's 16 and that young man comes walking down the sidewalk,
you just happen to be cleaning your shotgun at that point. You know?
Yeah, you're going to be hanging on to something, whether it's a ball bat or a crowbar.
You got to get whatever you can get your hands on at that point.
I know when my youngest daughter went on a date, and my oldest son was out here in the driveway. The young man he pulled up in his car, and of course his face is bright red because there's the daughter's father and brother, a couple buddies. And my oldest son says, "Jimmy, my dad's going to do everything to you that you do to her."
Yep, exactly.
Jimmy took her out once and never came back.
that was the end of it. Nice. Yeah. No, I definitely have heard that it's a little easier raising boys. I also, kind of hear that they get over things a little faster and they're a little more rough and tumble than, sensitive, girls can be a little sensitive, I guess. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You put up a big sign on the front door. Drama ends here. Because everything is a big deal when they're a certain age.
Yeah. Sure.
And the boys, they don't tell you anything. The girls tell you more than you want to know. But no, it's a real experience. And when they're raised, and you have that empty nest, you want them to come home, and they don't always come home. And then when they do finally come home, they're bringing these little poop trucks home with them. And Grandma, she can eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich, drink a Diet Coke, and change a diaper all in about 10 seconds.
Wow.
She's good at it.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I know that.
Not me. When that diaper comes when that diaper starts to come off, I'm out of here. I'm gone.
You've all of a sudden got something to do in the other room.
Yeah, I'm scared of it.
Exactly. But yeah, it's got to feel good to be the grandparent, though. It's like you've made you've made it to that next generation, but you don't have to be the bad guy necessarily.
Yeah.
You can kind of swoop in for the for the good part, and then kind of swoop away when things get difficult. So.
You become the mediator between the two.
Oh yeah.
You need to listen to your father,
right?
And you need to be a little more gentle and remember what's under high play. So and as soon as these grandkids come in, their grandma's sticking popsicles in the mouth. Bam, 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 bam. And they don't get that at home.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But it's life is fun if you make it fun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But a 2-year-old, I just love them. They're so fun to watch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're so fun to watch them learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I swear every day he does something new that I didn't know he could do the day before. It's like almost just changing in front of your eyes. Like, I swear there's days I wake up and I'm like, I'm imagining this. I know I am, but I think you grew in the night. Like, you seriously look a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So.
And then when they come to you after they get out of school and they get on their own after a while, I've had all of them come to me and say, Dad, I'm really sorry I was a jerk when I was 16. And I said, oh, that's all right. I was 16. I said, as soon as I rolled down the window in my car, my brain stuck out my ear. It's part of life, and it's a cycle.
Sure.
And, I watched my dad be I thought he was tough on me, and then when he became a grandfather, I saw how gentle he was. And it's like, whoa, he's always been the same man he is. It's just that, and he don't have to. He can tell me no, and I'll listen. But when as a grandparent, I tell one of my grandsons and my granddaughters no, they listen to me. Now, if their parents tell them no, they do it anyway.
Exactly. Well, the thing my son is starting to realize is that me and my wife are two different people who could have two different answers to the question he has, so he started to figure that out. So if I say no to something, he'll be like, Mom. It's like, oh, great, you figured this out before the age of 2. Wonderful.
He'll figure that out really, really early.
Exactly. Yeah, playing the one side off the other. That's a skill that they learn pretty quickly, but no one's got to tell them that one. So.
That's right.
But yeah, for sure. But I thank you again. This has been great. I hope if you want to come back and talk about whatever you want, we can do this again. I'd love to. So.
Okay. Well, you've got my number.
Cool.
You follow me on Facebook.
Yep.
And we'll just have fun, Rob, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll be out on Friday, so I'll send you a link when it's up here. But
that'd be perfect.
Cool. Well, thanks again, and have a good rest of your day here.
You too, and good luck with that little fella.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You need some help.
I need it. Yeah, don't think I won't. So.
a real quick one. I know I'm totally opposed to littering. I've instilled that in my children. I said, go to a gas pump, you got a trash can there, do not litter. And my youngest daughter, she's little, she threw something out the window, and I stopped the car. I said, now, you know better than that. And she said, well, that'll just give those people that have to do community service out too. You know how 15-year-old girls are. Mm-hmm. So we went grocery shopping, and she says, can I have a whole gallon of Sunny Delight for myself? And I said, well, sure, because I don't like drinking out of a jug. And she likes to drink out of a jug, and, no. So I bought her a whole gallon of Sunny Delight orange juice that she could have herself. Mm-hmm. Well, I went to chore, and I come out, and there is an empty Sunny Delight plastic jug laying beside the stop sign. Mm. Now, what are the chances of just anybody throwing out a gallon of Sunny Delight?
Yeah.
So I picked it up, brought it home, and wrote, "No bad deed goes unpunished." Stuck it under her pillow in her bed.
Oh, no.
And that night I come home, she's studying Indian style in the living room going, how did you know?
Right.
How did you know? She, at that moment, knew that I was the smartest man in the world. And you got to outsmart him, Rob. You got to, you know. He could have very well just picked it up and thrown it away and not said anything.
Right.
But you know, the same way with their clothes. I say, if you don't put your clothes up, I'm going to throw them out in the yard. Well, I throw them out in the yard, and mother comes home and says, what are you doing? I spent a lot of money for those clothes. And I said, you got to pick them up. You leave them all over. So, she was 15, 16, driving. So I just took her clothes out, put them in her trunk. This kid was so spoiled. 3 weeks later, she goes, Mom, I can't find my clothes. I don't know where my clothes are. She had enough clothes the last 3 weeks before she noticed anything was gone.
It was kind of a delayed reaction there.
It was really delayed.
That's funny.
If you go look in the trunk of your car, just be real careful when you open it, because I had to spit on that last load.
To get it all to fit, right?
So, well, I'll let you go, and thank you for calling me. I didn't mean to take up too much time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's been fun, so thanks a lot. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Rob. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.